We invite you to watch how we clear the views on all matters through our partner station MITV on DSTV channel 255, 7 p.m. daily, and also our YouTube and Facebook pages under one name, Clearview News Desk every day. We call it The People's News, as we are available to come over and cover your events upon notice. Or do you have news you want us to broadcast? Send it in. We verify and go to town with it. All for you. Go ahead, engage us to thrash out those naughty issues on the news. And what we need from you is to share and subscribe. More important, convince your loved ones, friends, relatives, co-worshippers, and more to subscribe so as to be getting notifications as we break the news. Go a step further, like the news, and drop your thoughts on the comment section. Clearview News. We clear the view one time and for all time.
Hello and welcome to Clearview News Desk. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. First, the headlines. NLC demands international inquiry into the traumatic invasion by security operatives. World leaders react as Bangladesh Prime Minister resigns, flees country amid violent protests. Condolences pour in as veteran Nollywood actor Francis Duru mourns son's demise. I am Imefonukun with this and more. Following Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation and fleeing the country after weeks of protest against her government in which hundreds of people were killed, world leaders have continued to react to her removal from power and the unrest in the country. Meanwhile, opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party's acting chairman Tariq Rahman, who lives in exile in the United Kingdom, said on X that Hasina's resignation proves the power of the people. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's spokesperson said his office was concerned by the violence and the significant loss of lives, including students, children and law enforcement officers. He also added that the right to peaceful protest must be protected and never subjected to violence, and called on the authorities to release all peaceful protesters and ensure due process is followed for those charged and prosecuted. Similarly, Foreign Secretary David Lammy said the people of Bangladesh deserve a full and independent UN-led investigation into the events of the past few weeks. Also reacting, the US and the European Union bloc has also called on all sides to refrain from further violence. With the recent protests happening across Nigeria, Clearview News Desk urges protesters to be peaceful while calling on the Nigerian government to refrain from any acts of human rights abuse, as it has been reported in the past few days. Kenyan police patrolled the streets of the capital Nairobi this Thursday. Roadblocks, many shops were shut ahead of planned new anti-government protest. The East African nation has been rocked by weeks of demonstrations, mostly led by young Gen Z Kenyans against President William Ruto's 2-year-old administration. The nation's acting police chief had warned on Wednesday that criminals intended to infiltrate the demonstrations should not trespass and avoid protected areas such as the main international airport and State House, the president's official residence. In a post on X, the acting Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masangeli, said adequate security personnel had been deployed but advised the public to take extra caution while in crowded areas that are likely to turn riotous. While the rallies, which began in June, posters shared online called for fresh demonstrations dubbed Nane Nane or 8-8 in Swahili to signify the date August 8. In his statement on Wednesday, Masanjali warned about criminals planning to infiltrate the Nane demonstrations and commit further crimes. Following Wednesday night invasion of its headquarters, the Labour House Abuja, by armed security operatives, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has given details of the incidents while demanding international inquiry into the traumatic invasion. The statement by its head, Media and Public Relations, Benson Upa, equally directed all its staff to stay away from the Labour House until the NLC is certain that there are no incriminating materials or harmful substances dropped in their offices by the invading operatives. It called on the international community to take note of the deterioration of democratic principles in the bid to turn Nigeria into a police state. Civil society organizations under the aegis of the Global Center for Conscious Living Against Corruption have thrown in their weight behind the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Enquiry, following recent allegations of corruption and economic sabotage of the nation's oil and gas sector. Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday in Abuja, the nation's capital, the Director General of the group, Dr. Nwambu Gabriel, highlighted various achievements and impact of the NNPCL under Kyari's leadership, while calling on President Tinubu's administration to conduct independent investigations into the allegations.
Recently, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and its Group Chief Executive Officer, Engineer Mele Kyari, have come under fire from dozens of Nigerians calling for his sack over allegations of corruption and economic sabotage of the nation's oil and gas sector. Recall that in July 2024, there were allegations against Kyari accusing him of sabotaging the federal government's effort in fixing indigenous refineries such as the Kaduna and Port Harcourt refineries, and was also undermining the completion of the Dangote refineries to access crude oil to the benefit of the subsidy cartel. There were also allegations of the presence of middlemen in trading, the indiscriminate issuance of licenses, unavailability of laboratories to check adulterated products, influx of adulterated products into the country, and non-domestication of profits realized from crude marketing sales in local banks, among others. In the wake of these allegations, a coalition of civil society organizations under the aegis of the Global Center for Conscious Living Against Corruption, at a press conference in Abuja, described the allegations as unfounded by disgruntled elements out to tarnish the good image of the NNPCL boss. While highlighting the various achievements and impacts of the NNPCL under Kyari's leadership, the group called on President Tinubu's administration to conduct independent investigations into the allegations.
Basically, Malam, we conducted an independent verification and fact-finding exercise. And in course of our fact-finding, we unraveled that Malam Mele Kyari has a track record. If you look at the oil and gas sector, the production of crude oil has improved significantly. Nigeria is a mono economy that is, for which development is greatly determined by the production of oil and gas. We all know what has bedeviled the Niger Delta region over time, and the production of crude oil has drastically reduced. Now, we are saying, for a man who is a technocrat, for a man who is a professional, for a man who has joined the NNPC since 1991 that has a track record, he rose through the ranks. We should be able as Nigerian citizens to separate corruption from professionalism. We need somebody that knows the job. We need a professional that can manage the NNPCL, and we believe, based on our independent verification and fact-finding, that Malam Mele Kyari is the best, one of the best, in fact, as far as the management of the NNPCL is concerned.
Just yesterday, in his address to the Senate Ad Hoc Committee investigating alleged economic sabotage in Nigeria's petroleum industry held at the National Assembly, Mele Kyari refuted claims that the National Oil Company was sabotaging the country, insisting on its adherence to all governing laws designed to engender energy security. Gloria Atta, reporting for Clearview News.
Veteran Nollywood actor Francis Duru has mourned the demise of his son, Ifeanyi. The actor broke the news in a post on Instagram on Thursday describing the late Ifeanyi as a charm and a lion who fought valiantly. He wrote, "My charm, my son, you fought like a lion. If this is the way you want it, so be it. I still judge you faithful. Ifeanyi, my charm, I will miss you, son. I will forever love you. Rest in peace, son, rest. I give you thanks, Lord." Meanwhile, an outpouring of condolences has since flooded his post on Instagram as friends and fans offer words of comfort to the grieving actor and his family. The news came as a shock to fans and colleagues as Duru had recently celebrated Ifeanyi's 15th birthday in December 2023. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room has convened a stakeholders dialogue on election technology in the nation's capital. The event, supported by the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, brought together experts and critical stakeholders to discuss the challenges and prospects of election technology in Nigeria. Clearview News' Florence Joshua brings us details.
The current state of election is a far cry from the idealistic vision of the future. In reality, elections are often marred by voter fraud, vote manipulation, and other issues that undermine the democratic process. In spite of recent improvement in introduction of electronic voting systems, there is still more to be done, especially in regards to voter apathy. In many countries, turnout rates are declining, which implies that only a few people have a voice in how their country is governed. This trend is a major concern as this can lead to a feeling of disconnection between citizens and the government. Delivering his welcome address, the convener Situation Room highlighted the purpose of the event. Dr. Matthew, the governance advisor FCDO, also gave a goodwill message.
Results. Over this period, I think we have acquired quite substantial experience. We have seen the potentials that technology has in terms of improving the transparency and credibility of elections. We have even seen some actual benefits, but we have also seen many challenges with the deployment of technology. Now, this meeting that we have called is to allow us to review our past experience, reflect on that experience, and try to identify the gains, and in the process, develop strategies of how we can consolidate on those gains, identify the key challenges, and propose solutions.
The desire is that technology would play a key role in enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of election administration and systems, that it would also play a key role, as we did see for the 2023 elections, in encouraging young people, but also the citizens more generally, to participate in the election process. And of course, in our context, that tech will play that role in improving the trust that citizens have in the election process, but also the outcome.
Also speaking, Dr. Lawrence Bayode, Director of ICT at the Independent National Electoral Commission, made a presentation on technological innovations in the electoral process from 2015 to 2023. He highlighted the process made and the challenges faced in implementing election technology in Nigeria. Barrister Festus Okoye, former National Commissioner INEC, led a discussion on the challenges and prospects of election technology in Nigeria.
The Commission observed that at some point, when results that have been announced at the at the polling unit before it gets to the collation center at the RA level. Sometimes those results are mutilated, those results are changed before it gets to that. So what the commission does, okay, from the polling unit, all you need to do is to scan this result and upload it to the INEC result web portal, so that the public can see the result even before you start moving from the polling unit to the collation center.
You can see that what the approach was designing a framework that gets election materials on time to the various polling units, and also designing a framework that minimizes pernicious human interference in the electoral process.
Stakeholders shared their experiences and insight, emphasizing the need for improved election technology to enhance the electoral process. The dialogue aimed at fostering collaboration among stakeholders to address the challenges of election technology and ensure a more transparent and credible electoral process in Nigeria. Florence Joshua reporting for Clearview News Desk.
Do you have a persistent boss who just wouldn't stop sending messages to you on official matters even after the close of office hours when you've left the workplace or locked off? In Portugal, such behavior is now illegal. The country recently introduced a law that bans employers from contacting workers outside of their regular hours, either by phone, message, or email. In the special report, Clearview TV's Gloriata attempt to find out how feasible such a law will be in the Nigerian workplace.
Stress can hit anyone at any level of business, be it in a public or private setting. Recent research shows that work-related stress is widespread and is not confined to particular sectors, jobs, or industries. To improve work-life balance, Portugal took dramatic steps recently when the government approved a new set of laws to address the changing trend in the workplace. Under the new labor law, employers can face penalties for contacting their employees after office hours on official matters. The new law also mandates employers to help pay for expenses incurred by their workers on higher electricity and internet bills through working outside the office hours, among others. These new laws were designed to allow workers to distance themselves from the office when they are off and to allow them get the full advantage of their time off. A similar rule gave French workers the right to ignore after-hour business emails in 2017. Other European nations, including Germany, Italy, and Slovakia, have likewise revised their rules, allowing workers to have the legal right to enjoy their time off without having to carry the weight of work around. With a number of countries paying attention on the need for employees to have the right to enjoy their time away from work without distractions, Clearview Television interacted with some Nigerians to sample how applicable such a law would be in the average Nigerian workplace.
What is obtainable in Portugal is also obtainable here. But really, what the disconnect for? If there's an emergency, take for example medical or health professionals, and then there's an emergency, is the law saying that they should not be contacted even though they are not on call duty, right? So we should be looking at the advantages and the disadvantages as well.
I don't think that law will be applicable here, and the reason is this: we know both the rulers and the rule, we are all known for violation of rules and regulation, because everybody does what profits him or her, not what profits the entire public.
I think it will be applicable if the right channel is being applied, because most Nigerians will support this particular law.
To me, it's a foreign idea. Nigeria is built in a unique way. Portugal is built in a unique way. So the environment, the activities going on there is quite different from the activities going on in Nigeria.
Clearview Television also got mixed reactions on how effective the law, if implemented, will be in improving the quality of workers and individuals in the country.
Workers disconnect from their employers outside work hours. It's not necessarily a factor for job performance or performances. Okay, what workers need, it's good pay.
If such a law should be in existence here, it reduces stress. It's helped to, to elongate the lifespan, of everyone. If it's something that will work out, I will tell you it has positive impact.
If such law come, believe me, everybody know, yes, you'll be working at ease. And once anybody work at ease, but you bring out the best result.
Studies have continued to show there is far more work-related stress today than there used to be, and that the stress is constant. It is therefore pertinent for urgent attention to be given to the quality of life employees enjoy. After all, a happy employee is a productive one. Gloria Atta, reporting for...
If you are just joining us, you're watching the news on Clearview News Desk. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us. Give thanks daily for your blessings. Get into the habit of thinking happy thought. Go out of your way to make other people happy. That's the formula for real enthusiasm. Welcome back. In contemporary times, tribal marks have become the dying law of ancient days. In Nigeria, tribal marks were used as means of identification and beautification among some ethnic groups like the Yorubas, Igbos, Hausas, Igala, Tiv, Kanuri, and others. Clearview TV's Chidima Okafor in the special report says the use of tribal marks is fast being seen as offensive and inhuman by some Nigerians.
Tribal marks in the olden days were used to identify people of a particular locality, especially in times of wars, which were common at that time. But in the present day, the use of national identity card or international passports appears to be generally acceptable. A number of reasons, including health hazards arising from facial mutilation due to the use of unsterilized blades and crude tools by non-professionals, account for the gradual rejection of tribal marks. According to popular Nigerian politician Senator Dino Melaye, the time has come for Nigerians to do away with tribal identity marks. It says, carrying out facial mutilation is a form of infringement on the fundamental human rights of the child because it is being done without the child's consent. And if any culture infringes on the fundamental human rights of a person, it should be abrogated.
That bill was in 2016 November, and it's a bill against facial mutilation. And you give mark to a child without the consent of that child. The child grows up and says, oh, if I was not a child, I would have resisted this. And that is an infringement on the fundamental human right. Any culture that infringes on the fundamental human right of that person should be abrogated, because the fundamental human right as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, drawing tribal mark from Igala land to Ibadan to some other parts of Nigeria where you still find a child that is under 7 days old, being facially mutilated and all sorts of designs on their faces. And this mutilation and cuts and tribal mark is not done by professional medical experts. It's not done by nurses or people who have medical experience. It's by some very local people who use unsterilized sharp objects. And this results in diseases that will give either permanent disabilities to some of these kids, and in most cases, they even die of infections.
In November 2016, Senator Melaye sponsored a bill for the abolition of tribal marks, which passed the first and second readings but was yet to scale the third reading before its tenure ended rather abruptly following the decision of the Election Appeals Panel that nullified his second-term victory. He expected that the prohibition of tribal marks bill would have been represented before the State or House of Representatives by one of the members in the House, but wasn't. The Kogi-born politician says if he finds himself back in the Senate, he will definitely push for the representation of the bill.
Every bill dies with a particular legislative section. So if the bill is not passed and assented to by the president in that legislative section, the bill will have to be reintroduced afresh in another legislative section. If I find myself again in the Senate, I will definitely want to push it to a logical conclusion.
Like Senator Dino Melaye, not a few Nigerians see everything wrong with tribal marks. even as some see nothing wrong with it.
My mom briefed me on what happened when my dad came back from work. We're in Kaduna. I was born and brought up in Kaduna. And when my dad came back from work now, he met my mother, because my mother brought me back from the village then. Said, why all this mark? And they think it's a serious issue.
My dad actually have a tribal mark, and it somehow don't look good on him. So it's not something I want anyone to do to my child.
My child, tribal mark. No. It won't sit well with me and her. No. I won't accept it all.
Well, I would not react in a negative way because I believe in culture. But not a very, massive mark like that though. Yeah.
For many, tribal marks as part of Nigeria's cultural heritage may soon be a thing of the past, as more and more people no longer fancy giving their newborn babies such ethnic identities. Whether the implementation of tribal marks should be abolished in Nigeria through legislation remains to be seen. Chidima Okafor, reporting for Clearview Television.
People living with disabilities who are into sport have lamented over what they described as marginalization and discrimination. The Loda para-powerlifting athletes, who made this known to Clearview News correspondent, noted that apart from being sidelined in other fields, lack of motivation in sport denies them a lot of benefits, unlike the able-bodied men. And that's the news, but before we go, a recap of the top stories. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has given details of Wednesday night invasion of its headquarters by security operatives, while demanding international inquiry into the traumatic incidents. World leaders have continued to react over the resignation and fleeing of Bangladesh Prime Minister following days of protest and violent clashes in the country. We also told you that fans and colleagues have expressed shock following the demise of veteran Nollywood actor Francis Duru's son, Ifeanyi, whose 15th birthday the actor had recently celebrated in December 2023. You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via social media platform on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Clearview News Desk, or via handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Clearview Online. Many thanks for watching. I am Imefonu Okun.